Barakatah Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Racha Kudash. Welcome to another live lesson. The name of this one is They're Running. What you're looking at is a picture of these different bunkers that Esau has, or one of the many that they have, around the United States and around the world. Mainly in the what you call the Midwest and over towards the West. That's where they have a lot of these bunkers at. And this is what the elite are planning for when they, when this fallout happens, pestilence, nuclear war, or whatever the case may be that they feel that that's going to happen for them to flee there. But we know ultimately what's going to happen is the nuclear destruction, according to the scriptures. And they want to flee to these bunkers and have the comforts in these bunkers to last, and wait out whatever devastation or plague or destruction is happening on the earth while they're tucked away comfy in their in these holes. Now this video was inspired by a video I was watching earlier. First I was watching Elder Apostle Tar's video about the chariots, and then I watched some of Elder Bishop Manatazak's video called "A Nuclear Apocalypse is Coming." His channel is Jacob Barak. You brothers out there, that haven't subscribed, you sisters that haven't subscribed, you can subscribe to the Elder Bishop's channel, and try to get his views. I'm sorry, his let's see. Oh, he has over 2,000. I thought this was the subscribers, but if you haven't subscribed, you can subscribe here. And pretty much this is where the inspiration came for this. I'm not sure exactly how he said it, but he's talking about the nuclear devastation that's coming. And I'm not sure if he mentioned bunkers or whatever the case is, but something he said, sparked my mind to go into the bunkers, because the scriptures speak about them. And then I remember that a brother had sent me this video earlier. I believe this was either Saturday or it could have been Friday. And I remember watching it. It's called Shocking. Dire warning from world's top bunker contractor. And pretty much they go into saying how the bunker business is booming. And the majority of people that are buying the bunkers are the elite. And they use that term, the elite, and this is what they're trying to do. Now, I happen to be looking for a picture, for the lesson at the beginning, and I happen to run across this. It's called U.S. Government Underground Facilities and Tunnels, DUMS, which stands for Deep Underground Military Bases. All right, Deep Underground Military Bases. And then it gives you a layout or a diagram, and this is all underground, miles underground. I don't know how far down it goes, but they're underground, and these are all railroad facilities to get to these different bunkers, because they have an underground tunnel, how to get to all these different places, to where they have high-speed trains, I believe they said. And the majority of people don't know about this because it's not something that is spoken of. Now, this individual here, he said that because the host was interviewing him and asked him if the elite, or maybe he said people are asking him if the elite are prepping, for, or the government is prepping for what's coming. And he said no, because they already did that 25 years ago. So all of this stuff is already in place, because they know a nuclear holocaust is coming. Well, let's go real quick to, I got two precepts that came to mind. And let me just get this other one. All right, so let's go back. The first one is Revelation chapter 8 and verse 13. It says, "And I beheld and heard an angel flying through the midst of heaven, saying with a loud voice, Woe, woe, woe to the inhabitants of the earth, by reason of the other voices of the trumpet of the three angels which are yet to sound." Now notice he said it 3 times. Woe, woe, woe. And that represents 3 world wars. And those are major wars that were fought between all nations. You had World War One back in the early 1900s. You had World War II in the mid 1900s. And now you see the stage being set for the last and final war to end all wars, which is World War III. But the difference between this war and those wars, even though it started back during World War II, is the weaponry, the elite weaponry that they have contained within the nuclear missiles, through plutonium and whatever other ingredients they use to create these missiles. Now, wars have been fought, real wars anyway, have been fought on the ground, one side versus the other side, men with swords, javelins, arrows, armor, clanking of swords, as we're going to read here in Isaiah 9, and that's all fine and dandy, because that's pretty much how warfare was fought throughout, all of history. But when the 1900s came in, they revolutionized it by using missiles, especially once they got the ability to go up into the air with planes, jets, so on and so forth. All right. So we're going to read this. But before I read it, I'm going to read this brother's comment here. Let me see what this says here. It says, the Deep Underground Command Center, DUCC, sometimes also called the Deep Underground Command and Control Site, was a United States military installation that was proposed on January 31st, 1962. Yeah, because it goes way back. So people think that everything that's being spoken of today is just something they came up with yesterday or last year. No, these things have been in the works for some time now. It says, to be a very deep underground center close to the Pentagon, perhaps 3,000 to 4,000 feet down, protected to withstand direct hits by high yield weapons. Yeah, but what they're not focusing on is the fact that these nuclear missiles are going to go into the ground, into the earth. I'm going to read the elder's precept in a minute, but another precept came to mind, which I want to get before. But, what they're not counting on is that once they shoot those missiles are going to be out of their control, and it's going to be in the control of the hands of the Most High, because His presence is going to be in the middle of those missiles, because the Most High Himself is a consuming power. Right? And Yahushua said, I am come to send fire on the earth, and what will I if it be already kindled? So it says, Amos 9:2, though they dig into hell, meaning what? Though they dig into the earth, thence shall mine hand take them. And what is the Lord's hand? Those missiles. Because remember, we're going to come back to this. But matter of fact, let me leave that. Remember that the Lord said that His presence is going to be in these missiles. And let me get this other one since it came to mind, even though I already mentioned it. But just to keep the pot brewing, let's go back to Ezekiel 38 and 20. So that matter of fact, I started at 18. And it shall come to pass at the same time when Gog, which is Russia, shall come against the land of Israel, because they're going to totally annihilate the land of Israel with those missiles, saith the Lord power, along with their allies, that my fury shall come up in my face, because the Most High is angry. He says, for in my jealousy and in the fire of my wrath have I spoken. Surely in that day there shall be a great shaking in the land of Israel. And what's going to cause that great shaking? This great earthquake that's going to be caused when the missiles hit. It's going to cause the earth. Let's get that real quick and come back. Let's go to the book of Isaiah 24 and 19. It says, the earth is utterly broken down. Matter of fact, let me start at 18. And it shall come to pass that he who fleeth from the noise of the fear shall fall into the pit. Yeah, because in that day, there will be nowhere to escape, nowhere to run to, nowhere to hide. You know, especially here on the soils of America, on the soils of the land of Israel. It says men's hearts failing them for fear at looking at those things that are coming upon the earth. There's going to be very horrible sights. Because it's one thing to watch a movie. There's one thing to know or read about it. But there's another thing to actually witness it. And that's why a lot of the times when the prophets would see the destruction, you know, there was no breath left in them. They were sick. You know, they were all messed up because it's a very horrible sight. That's why it says in let's get that real quick and come back to this. Amos chapter 3 verse 6. It says, shall a trumpet be blown in the city and the people not be afraid? So what is a trumpet? It's an alarm of war. You know, and if you blow a trumpet in a particular city and they say, and you say, and you know, and the announcement is, this is not a test. You know, Russia has just launched nuclear missiles, or China has just launched nuclear missiles. People are going to be in a panic. It says, shall there be evil in the city and the Lord have not done it? So if there's evil in any city, anywhere around the world, the Most High is the one that's doing it, because he's bringing forth to pass his judgment. So Isaiah 24:18, and it shall come to pass that he who fleeth from the noise of the fear shall fall into the pit, and he that cometh up out of the midst of the pit shall be taken in the snare. For the windows from on high are open, and the foundations of the earth do shake. And what's going to cause that? That's going to be those nuclear missiles. You know, which when we read in the book of Revelation, it speaks about a great earthquake, you know, that's going to cause the whole earth to rock to and fro. That's why the best place to be in that day when the destruction comes is up in the heavens, in the chariot. All right. It says the earth is utterly broken down because the Most High is going to put hell on this place. It says the earth is clean dissolved. The earth is moved exceedingly. And what's going to cause this great moving or this great shaking? This great earthquake, which is going to be the missiles when they hit, the noise and pestilence. And it says what? It says the earth shall reel to and fro like a drunkard. Why is it going to reel to and fro like a drunkard? From the impact of those missiles, you know, and that causes earthquakes, that causes tsunamis, that causes devastation. You know, that's why the Apostle Peter, you know, described it as the elements melting with fervent heat. And there's depictions of that in certain movies. You know, you had Knowing, you had Judgment Day, the Terminator movie. I believe that was Judgment Day 2 or Part 2, if I'm not mistaken, or it might have been the first one. You know, but there are depictions of this because some people have actually seen it in a vision. You know, that's just a way of the Lord giving a hint or a clue of what's coming. Right? It says, and shall be removed like a cottage, and the transgression thereof shall be heavy upon it, and it shall fall and not rise again. And this is why it's going to happen, because of the transgressions. The Lord is visiting the earth because of its iniquity. Remember, we go back to Genesis. The Lord said that the Lord saw the earth, you know, that it was exceeding. How does it go? The Lord saw the wickedness of man, that it was great upon earth, and they repented him that he made man. Because what was happening back then is the same thing that's happening now. That's why, you know, when Yahweh Shai spoke the parables of the destruction, he said, as in the days of Noah, or as in the days of Lot, you know, because the judgment that's coming is going to be a great judgment, and it's going to be, you know, devastating. It's going to it's going to be far worse than the flood. But this time it's going to be by fire. All right, so I'm going to leave this because I may come back to this later, Lord's will. So now going back to Ezekiel 38 and 19, now let's go to 20. So that the fishes of the sea and the fowls of the heaven and the beasts of the field and all creeping things that creep upon the earth and all the men that are upon the face of the earth shall shake at my presence, because the presence of the Most High is going to be there in these missiles. And we know, according to Hebrews 12 and 29, for our power is a consuming fire. So I'm going to leave this because we may come back to this also later. Now let's go back to Amos 9 and 2. Though they dig into hell, thence shall mine hand take them. And what is the Lord's hand? It's going to be those missiles. That fiery indignation that the Lord is going to pour upon, these nations. Let me go real quick to Psalms 75 and 8. For in the hand of the Lord there is a cup, and the wine is red. It is full of mixture, and he poureth out of the same. But the dregs thereof, all the wicked of the earth shall wring them out and drink them, because the Lord is coming to bring vengeance. You got to remember, man, this land has to be cleansed, thoroughly washed of the blood of the saints of the Most High that was shed here. From the so-called North American Indians, Seminole Indians, so-called Mexican Indians, so-called Negroes, and the rest of the tribes that were slaughtered, on this side of the world. This is why the Lord is bringing that great judgment. All right, so going back to Amos, though they climb up to heaven, because you have what? Space stations, and all of a sudden, now they're hot and heavy about going to space again. You had your Elon Musk, you had, different other individuals. I believe one of them was Jeff Bezos, if I'm not mistaken. And, just all of this space race, to go up into space, to find a place up there to hide from the destruction that's coming. But the Lord said, though they climb up to heaven, thence will I bring them down. Because the Lord is going to bring this whole, once Esau goes down, the whole system is going down. Technology, bases, missiles, all of that stuff is going to be destroyed. And whatever is not destroyed, when we come back down, Lord's will we be the elect, we're going to go around the world and burn any weapons that are left with spiritual power. It's going to be disintegrated. And that's why in the movie Planet of the Apes, the older ape, he was like, he knew that the gun was their sword, their weapon. And they've been a terror with that weapon. And the extension of the gun is the rifles, the missiles, their tanks, anything that they use to cause harm. It says, and though they hide themselves in the top of Carmel, which we're looking into right now. You have Iron Mountain, you have Cheyenne Mountain, you have many different shelters, nuclear or bomb shelters, all over the country, all over the world. Because even this guy here was saying that the elite have bunkers all over the world, and he said he's mad busy, with all these different bunkers that are going up all around the world. And then we have this map here of an underground railroad in different locations where these bases are at. And he said some of the bases hold thousands of people, some of them hold, he said some of them hold thousands of people, some of them hold hundreds of thousands of people. Because they're preparing for something. So it says, and though they hide themselves in the top of Carmel, I will search and take them out thence. And though they be hid from my sight in the bottom of the sea, thence will I command the serpent, and he shall bite them. Yeah, because you have bunkers under the sea. You can't tell me that this devil can't build. They've mastered the art of building. They can build structures underwater that will not leak, that are functional. Because that is one of their gifts, to build. which go in this guy Herod, the so-called great, he was a great builder, and the Romans used to seek to him, to build certain structures. The Romans themselves, which are Edomites, they built great structures. They built aqueducts. They had heating floors, different, elaborate things that they did back then. You even had malls back then. So everything you see now is not new. That's why the scriptures say, the thing that hath been is that which shall be. Because it was here already. It just, there's just no remembrance of these things. So let's go back to the original scripture we're going to go to in Isaiah 9:5. It says, for every battle of the warrior is with confused noise and garments rolled in blood. And that's how ancient wars were fought. Pretty much until the invention of the gun. The gun revolutionized, war. And then that extended into more high-powered rifles, high-powered weapons, missiles, so on and so forth, until what you see now, the mother of, all weaponry or Esau's sword, which is the nuclear missiles, or are the nuclear missiles. They've tested hydrogen bombs, they've tested different atomic bombs, but ultimately what they did was they got to the pinnacle of bomb making, which is the nuclear missiles, which unbeknownst to them was created for their utter destruction, which they don't even understand that. So let's go back, and it says, but this, meaning this war, shall be with burning and fuel of fire. What war? World War III. I know the elder had the scripture up, but I didn't get a chance to read it because we went into a few other precepts. So let me bring that back up, because we read in the book of Revelation, the 8th chapter, that there were going to be 3 wars, 3 woes. Now in Revelation 9 and 12, it says, one woe is past, meaning World War I, and behold, there come 2 woes more hereafter. The 2 woes more was what? 2 more wars, 2 more world wars. Then we jump to the 11th chapter, and the 14th verse, and it says, the second woe is past, World War II came and went, and behold, the third cometh quickly. So this is the third woe cometh quickly. So we're at the point now where the third woe is coming quickly. And this war is far worse than any of the other ones, because this one, they have, the technology of the nuclear missile, which was something that was given to them to really bring forth their judgment, their ultimate destruction. Let's read the book of Isaiah 54 and 16. It says, behold, I have created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire. And the ancient smiths would build weaponry, armor, helmets, whatever was needed, shields, spears, swords, whatever was needed to fight these different battles. So we know that those, even though they still make, guns and rifles and all that, in the case of combat that they wage today, those are almost really pretty much obsolete, because the new way is through these nuclear missiles. So the modern day smiths, or the ones that invent these weapons of war, would be the scientists. And this is why you had, after World War II, you had those German scientists, which are the smartest of the Edomites. Half of those scientists were taken by Russia, and the other half were taken by America. And pretty much what they've been doing is creating these different weapons, high tech weapons. Because when we go back, it says, and that bringeth forth an instrument for his work. So today the instrument for his work would be these missiles, the warheads. It says, and I have created the waster to destroy. The waster are these missiles. And you can read all throughout the scriptures about the missiles. You go to Job, the 20th chapter where it speaks about he shall flee from the iron weapon. Then it says a fire not blown. Why is it a fire not blown? Because the fire is already in the nuclear warheads. And once it detonates, it causes that fire to come out. So this is what the Lord did. He allowed them to do all these things so that they can bring forth their destruction. Right? And in bringing forth their destruction, they fulfill scriptures, you know. But this shall be with burning and fuel of fire. So though the technology of the missiles that they have today is with burning and fuel of fire. And that's going to be the ultimate judgment for America. All right. Yep, this is a good one too. J. Robert Oppenheimer is often called the father of the atomic bomb for leading the Manhattan Project. That's right. The program that developed the first nuclear weapon during World War II. That's right. And he quoted, when he saw the testing of it, he quoted the Bhagavad Gita, which is the Elamite or East Indian Bible. It's like an East Indian type of Bible. And he said, I am become chaos or something like that, the destroyer of worlds or something like that, along those lines. Because when he saw that, he said he thought about that. And pretty much what he was witnessing was the scriptures. You know, I have created the waster to destroy. That's pretty much what he should have been quoting, you know. So we go to Isaiah. Right here it says a day of reckoning coming. Wow. Well, you know what? Let's read from there. For the day of the Lord of hosts shall be upon everyone that is proud and lofty. And who's prouder than Esau? And upon everyone that is lifted up, and he shall be brought low. And upon all the cedars of Lebanon that are high and lifted up, and upon all the oaks of Bashan, and upon all the high mountains, which the high mountains represent what? It represents these different top governments. You have big governments, you have small governments. It says, and upon all the hills that are lifted up, and these hills would be the smaller governments. And upon every high tower, and upon every fence wall, and upon all the ships of Tarshish, which is in Spain, and upon all the pleasant pictures, and the loftiness of man shall be bowed down, and the haughtiness of men shall be made low. Yeah, because these international banking families around the world will be brought low. They will be humbled. And the Lord Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai alone shall be exalted in that day, and the idols he shall utterly abolish. Yeah, because that's what's going to also abolish these idols, or those missiles, that fire. And they shall go into the holes of the rocks. Or what are the holes of the rocks? That's dealing with these different bunkers. Now they're all over the world. You know, you have one here, Iron Mountain. You have Cheyenne Mountain. You have here a list of different ones in America itself. And this individual was saying that a lot of Americans are buying bunkers. He said, but the elite are buying bunkers all over the world. You know, because pretty much that's who he really caters to, even though he said, oh, you know, I help, you know, the small guys and all that. But the money is in the elite, you know, and that's what they have. They have bunkers all over the place because the Most High is bringing judgment upon the world, but especially here in America, Babylon the Great. All right. So it goes on where we at. And they shall go into the holes of the rocks and into the caves of the earth. See? The scriptures don't lie, you know. This is the caves of the earth. That's what the scriptures are speaking about. And if you type in DUMBS, D-U-M-B-S, you'll see a whole host of different pictures where they show you mountains and places underground that are carved up, but it's huge. You know how big a tractor trailer is in comparison to a person? Well, the tractor trailer inside of those places looks like a person next to those big structures that they're making, or that they've made. Not making. They already made. They ain't getting it. They already got it. Inside joke. It says, for the fear of the Lord, and that's why they're gonna run in there. And this is why this guy said that the bunker business is booming. because the elite knows something is coming, and they're nervous, so they want to run and hide, and so that they can hide from the Lord. And for the glory of his majesty, when he ariseth to shake terribly the earth, which we just read in Isaiah 24, the Lord is coming to shake terribly the earth. In that day a man shall cast his idols of silver and his idols of gold, and which they made each one for himself to worship, to the moles and to the bats, right? Because they're going to realize that, all of this shit that we've been worshiping all these years, this is all bullshit. That's the real power right there, and that's what these shelters are for. Now, some of those shelters, and here in America, that's going to be their grave. But around the world, once the smoke clears, so to speak, these devils are going to be visited. And we're going to get to that in a minute, Lord's will. It says to go into the clefts of the rocks. See? Though they dig into Carmel. And into the tops of the ragged rocks. For the fear of the Lord. And for the glory of his majesty. When he arises to shake terribly the earth. See? It says, cease ye from man whose breath is in his nostrils, for wherein is he to be accounted of? So this devil is finished. All right. Let's go to Revelation. I believe that's either the 6th chapter or the 9th chapter. Yep. 6th chapter. I'll start at 12. And I beheld when he had opened the 6th seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake. And this great earthquake is talking about the devastation. Because remember, you have the ending of the 6th into the beginning of the 7th. Let's go to Job. Job 5. Remember, it said the 6th seal was open, right? Job 5 and 19. He shall deliver thee in 6 troubles. Yea, in 7 there shall no evil touch thee. All right. So we read there, and I beheld when he had opened the 6th seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood. Why? Because of the smoke and the ashes, of the flames that are going to be tearing up Babylon, man. They're going to be tearing down Babylon. It says, and the stars of heaven fell unto the earth. In other words, whoever, because, you have so-called stars, you have celebrities, you have the so-called elite. They call themselves the Illuminati, the enlightened ones. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? So these light bearers that have a good portion of people on the earth duped, they're going to come down from that lofty state. Their light is no longer going to shine on the earth, because there's going to be a new light that's going to be shined on the world, or shown in the world, which is Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, and the Israelites, the true Israelites. Even as a fig tree casteth her untimely figs when she is shaken of a mighty one, and the heaven departed as a scroll when it is rolled together. Now, when you look up a term that Esau calls mushroom cloud, you go to images, and what do you have? You have what they call mushroom clouds, which the prophets called the heavens being rolled together as a scroll. And that's what you see. You see the heavens being rolled together as a scroll, which Esau calls a mushroom cloud. And that's what John the Revelator on the island of Patmos saw. And every mountain and island were moved out of their places, because it's going to cause a total devastation. It's going to have the earth rocking to and fro. But the earth is not going to be totally destroyed like Vocab Malone teaches and other clowns. Certain portions of the earth will be hit by missiles, We don't know exactly what or where, because the Most High, remember, he's going to guide those missiles. But we know of a certain that the 100% of America and 100% of the land of Israel will be wiped off the face of the earth. America will never be inhabited again, but the land of Israel will be rebuilt back from the ashes, pretty much, to establish or reestablish the true kingdom of heaven on earth, which is Yahushua and the elect, which, you know, the rest of Israel will eventually come through that. It says, and the kings of the earth and the great men. It's not talking about, and the rich men. It's not talking about actual just king and chief captains and the mighty men. You know, it's talking about the rulers of the earth, which is the so-called Illuminati, great men of the earth, you know, that are in prominent positions, the rich men, which is the same thing as the elite, the chief captains and the mighty men dealing with the military, and every bondman, you know, which is dealing with the slaves, and every freeman hid themselves in the dens and in the rocks of the mountains, because remember, they have a certain portion of people that they plan on bringing in there into these different retreats, because their whole thing is, once the smoke clears, they want to introduce or implement what's known as a continuity of government, because they thinking that they're going to be able to rebuild everything back. So they're going to need the brightest minds, you know, the brightest doctors and lawyers, you know, and the brightest minds of engineers and builders and all that to set up and build this place back up. But unbeknownst to them, in some cases, that's going to be their grave. In other cases, they're going to be visited. And said to the mountains and rocks, fall on us, and hide us from the face of him that sitteth on the throne, and from the wrath of the Lamb. Because Yahushua is coming back to get busy. He said he's going to roar like a travailing woman. He's going to roar like a man. He's going to let out a yell or a battle cry, you know. This place, boy, when Yahushua comes back, boy, I tell you, boy, it says, for the great day of his wrath is come, and who shall be able to stand? So around the world, when you have these different retreats, right? Let me see if I could find something. You have these different retreats, right? Let's see. See, look at this. 11 luxury doomsday bunkers around the world. And they're luxurious. This guy even was talking about how in some of the modern bunkers, instead of having, you know, a bunker with a bunch of shelves and all your goods on the shelves, they took the whole floor out and made compartments in the floor to put all the storage away, put all the water tanks and everything you need there, so that you could just have a nice luxurious, you know, place to be. You know, it's like a grand hotel. And I believe they show pictures in this mini documentary, you know, because that's what they want. They want these luxurious bunkers so that they can, you know, live out the devastation and then be able to come out, you know, on top. Now look at this one. This is just a drawing, but look, you have the mountain, and you have the opening, and you have within the mountain itself the structure that was carved out and put in there. You have supplies in there. You have oxygen. You have water. You have, you know, food, medicine. You know, boy, I tell you, boy. Let's see. Super rich building doomsday bunkers. Yeah, because it's the super rich that have the money to do that. The average Joe is just an average Joe. And they don't know. All right, find a bunker, underground survival bunkers. And you can see it here in America. Look at that. God damn, you can't even see the outline of America from all these different, you know, bunkers here. You got some in South America, not many. It doesn't look like there's any in so-called Africa. And then all throughout Europe, Asia, you know, and look at over here. Wow, is that Australia? It looks like Australia, if I'm not mistaken. Look at that. Look at that. Well, you look at that. And this is just stuff that they allow to leak out. This, I know there's much more than that. 10 amazing doomsday bunkers. And look at this. This is another structure built underground. And they show you living quarters and all of that. Beds, movie theaters, pools, all the amenities that the so-called rich elite need to keep themselves entertained until Yahweh Shai comes in kicking the door, waving, Isaiah 24:21. And it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord, Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, shall punish the host of the high ones that are on high, which is who? Esau. And the kings of the earth, meaning all of the rulers of the earth. And they shall be gathered together as prisoners are gathered in a pit, because from that point of, that bunker, then from that point, once the door is kicked down, that big ass door is kicked down, that's going to begin the rest of their life. They're going to have a new life. They're going to have a new world order, right? But the thing is, they're not going to like the new world order. See, because they plan on bringing a new world order, which would be a dystopian to everybody else except for them. But in the case of the real new world order that's coming, they're not going to like it, because they're going to be in a real fucked up position. I'll read the parable of Lazarus and the rich man. It says, and shall be shut up in the prison, because you are going into captivity, dog. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. And after many days shall they be visited. Yeah. Because your first job, you elite out there, you so-called elite, you Rothschilds, Rockefellers, Merovingians, whatever top families out there, rich, you're going to survive this devastation. If you're out, if you're in your different bunkers around the world. And your very first job is going to be, some of you are going to be walking around dead bodies, planting, signs that these are dead bodies. And then the next crop of yous is going to go around digging holes and burying these dead. How about that? And the scripture says there's going to be continual employment. So you will not have to go to the unemployment office, because there will not be any unemployment office in the kingdom of heaven. All right. It says, and after many days shall they be visited. Then the moon shall be confounded, and the sun ashamed. Yeah, because your sun and your moon is going down, meaning your knowledge, wisdom, understanding is going to go down. When the Lord of hosts shall reign in Mount Zion and in Jerusalem, and before his ancients gloriously. All right. So, like I said, this was inspired by the lesson I was watching. Elder Bishop Manatazak, a nuclear apocalypse is coming. And I remember this video, which I went and watched it. You could watch it. I put this in the description box. And pretty much they're running because they know something's coming. But they can't get out of it. So with that, I pray that your brothers and your few sisters have been edified. Till the next time I say shalom.